I do think it's important to ask questions about Edinburgh. The public health experts have seen the same numbers that the First Minister just read out earlier on, and they still think that it's safe to ease the restrictions in the city. And the problem is this: the WHO say lockdowns should only be used to ease the pressure on health services because the damage caused by restrictions is high. The First Minister knows about the other harms. I've heard her talking about them: mental health, jobs, poverty. And I question whether it is right that people have to pay the price with their mental health, with their job and with poverty when the advisers, the local leadership and our own framework say it's clear that it doesn't have to be this way. So can I ask the First Minister, is there any chance that Edinburgh will move to level 2 before Christmas?
First Minister.
We'll assess that next week in the way that we carry out this review on a weekly basis. Can I just be very clear that the Chief Medical Officer takes part in the Cabinet discussions that come to these conclusions. They take account of the views of the National Incident Management Team, they take account of an assessment of the 4 harms, and we come to very difficult decisions, but decisions that we think on balance are the right ones. Edinburgh is not in what the WHO would describe right now as a lockdown. I appreciate for many people in Edinburgh it will feel as if they are, but the description of lockdown in that sense is akin to what the country was in earlier in the year. We've not had to, and I hope this continues to be the case, unlike other parts of the UK, we've not had to apply another national lockdown, and we continue to take the action, hopefully, to avoid that. But let me just repeat again some of the statistics that I gave, and again preface this by saying if I believed that it was safe and wasn't taking disproportionate risks to put Edinburgh or any other part of the country into a lower level of protection, why on earth would I not want to do that? I have no interest in keeping any part of the country in a higher level of protection than is necessary. But in test positivity, in Edinburgh, that has increased over 5 of the last 7 days. And in terms of case levels, 4 of the last 7 days have seen an increase in the city of Edinburgh. So again, just let me make the obvious point. Taking any area down a level is not a neutral act. What it means is that we ease up restrictions that gives the virus more opportunities to spread, and inevitably the virus will take those opportunities to spread. And if we do that on a position, a foundation that we don't consider is stable and sustainable, then the danger is that it rapidly runs out of control. This virus spreads and deteriorates very, very quickly. That's why we have to apply the greatest possible caution to these decisions, and that's why we will continue to do exactly that.
Willie Rennie.
And the First Minister knows I've been cautious throughout, and I'll continue to try to support her. But it is hard when she turns her back on the advice and on her own framework as well. Two ferries at Ferguson's, 100% over budget, at least 4 years late, with desperate island communities still missing out. Taxpayers losing over £100 million. Workers let down by catastrophic management failure in a company owned by this government. And BIFAB, the First Minister, boasted to the workers she's saved their jobs, but I suspect she won't be back to hand out their P45s. Now they will only be able to watch as the wind farm is built off the coast of Fife. The government's industrial strategy is failing just when workers need it most. So what is the new plan to revitalise our yards? And please do not tell me there's another working group. If the SNP's working groups created work, we'd have full employment by now.
First Minister.
Well, before we leave the issue of COVID, which I can't do as glibly as Willie Rennie just did there, we will continue to take careful and considered decisions in Edinburgh and in all parts of the country. But if we don't continue to apply real caution, then we may end up in a situation over the next few weeks and over the remainder of the winter where this situation runs out of control again. And rightly and properly, if that happens, then I'm sure Willie Rennie, just like Richard Leonard, will be the first to question why we took decisions that allowed that to happen. On BIFAB, 3 years ago, I think 3 years ago right now, it is because of the action this government took that BIFAB did not close and go into administration back then. We have worked hard, invested heavily, become a minority shareholder in BIFAB to try to secure a future for the yard. Unfortunately, we reached the limit of our ability legally to provide support to the yard, and it has unfortunately the company has gone into administration, but we will continue to work to secure, if we possibly can, a future for that. And I'm sorry Willie Rennie doesn't like the reality of how you have to work through things in government, but there are issues around the renewable supply chain that I'm afraid does involve us getting round the table, not least with the UK government, who still hold so many of these powers, to try to get a sustainable position where our supply chain win more of the benefits of the renewables potential we have. And the government will continue to do the hard work involved in that. And as far as Ferguson's is concerned, in terms of management failures, the management failures, in my view, were before the government took the yard into public ownership. In fact, that's why we had to take the yard into public ownership. And if we hadn't stepped in to do that, all of the jobs at Ferguson's would have been lost. Since the government took Ferguson's into public ownership, there have been 139 jobs actually created there. So there are more workers working at Ferguson's now than when we took the yard into public ownership. So none of these issues are easy. None of them offer up straightforward solutions, but we're determined to work as hard as we can to secure places like BIFAB and Ferguson's and make sure that we do the hard work to secure supplies of work for these places that unfortunately do mean us getting other people around the tables.